What's up, guys? Nolan here, and today we're talking about a few new things that have popped up over on Twitter from BSG as well as Nikita, and I started a cult, but more on that later. First things first, BSG have been pushing small updates and hotfixes over the past few days, which include changes to DLSS and game stability. I'm sure a lot of you guys have played over the weekend and saw for yourself, but if you didn't, I suggest that you take a look at the different settings again to see if that you can get some better performance or quality out of your rig on Escape from Tarkov. Up next, we have the biggest of irons that we've seen so far. BSG showed off this revolver, which looks a lot like a Rhino and even has the barrel low like a Rhino, but apparently isn't a Rhino. However, what it is a revolver that shoots the same round as the Ash 12. Yep, 50 cal. And it's called the RSH-12, what I'm going to be now dubbing the Rash 12, because I bet this thing is going to leave a rash on top of breaking your hand whenever you shoot it. I assume that you're going to be able to shoot all of the Ash 12 rounds with this, and we'll see what other revolvers might pop up, as it seems BSG are opening the floodgates when it at least comes to revolver weapons. A few days ago, we got this video tease from BSG. There is audio, but it's just the in-game emotes for USEX. There's nothing in particular that's too significant about it, so I'm going to keep it muted. It was actually the same day as the picture in the last video that I showed. Now, if you think the Lighthouse here could be using Morse code to relay a message with its light, then you're right, it did. Apparently, the Morse code from that light translates out to a message saying, REDSCAV, hi, friend or foe. I've never heard of a nicknamed character of REDSCAV or anything to do with REDSCAV, so I don't know where that leads. If you guys have some ideas, let me know in the comments. But this very well could be a clue to something that the Lighthouse will be doing in the future. Maybe this is how we communicate with the island before they actually allow us to cross the bridge. I have some crazier theories, but we're not breaking out the mushrooms and crack just yet. Next up, we are going to clearly draw a line under the stuff that I think is possible to come to Tarkov over the next year, and then again clearly jump over onto the hallucinogen and hard drug side of stuff, because boy oh boy did that blow up on Twitter, so I'm going to cut things more clearly for this one, again before jumping aboard the mushrooms and crack boat again. Some of this stuff is also new because there's been a lot of stuff going on Twitter. I'm not actually sure if this is going to help the situation or make it worse, but that last video blew up so much on Twitter that I'm sure there's way more people who haven't watched the video and are just rolling with whatever random people are saying on Twitter, some of which is wrong, but welcome to the internet, and I guess it just comes with the territory of being a cult leader. Now, starting in terms of what I fully believe will happen this year for Escape from Tarkov in order. I think we'll be getting this Lighthouse expansion next in about a month or so, but could easily be sooner, and it could even be on the 28th, it may not. The only reason I am actually playing into the April 28th thing is because Nikita did a similar troll tease with the 12.12 patch, so I'm going to be taking anything from him that looks like a date seriously from now on. But I will be clear that it's possible that nothing happens on the 28th. This is keeping in mind that this island and the trader way back when was believed to be ready for 12.12, and then soon after 12.12 released was thought to be within a month, and here we are 4 months later still waiting. I think BSG have added significantly more features than originally intended. I bet there were some problems with that, and I think they're working hard to make sure the trader is in a good spot before releasing it. We already got all the fancy features around the patch that we've already known about. Now all that's left is the flare gun stuff for calling in airdrops and whatever they're doing with advanced features for the trader and the new bosses. BSG have already confirmed that there are going to be surprises along with that in that patch, which, while we're staying sober and concrete on the speculation for now, it could be a lot of things. So we're just going to leave it as a question mark for now. Ending it off with another concrete thing and saying, no, I do not think this would be a wipe. If we are calling that the first major patch of 2022, the second major patch of 2022, I believe is going to be a wipe, and I think it's going to be in Q3 of this year, more specifically July, August. I also believe this will be the patch where we get our first iteration of Streets. The stuff about Streets looking the way it did 10 months ago and having the vast majority of the art team focusing on that location makes this concrete for me. We should also be getting the new armor hitbox and custom rig stuff in this patch as well, according to Nikita from the last Tarkov TV, and just generally speaking over the last several months whenever we brought that up, he said it would be coming with the Streets patch or after it. So when he was talking about it during the last Tarkov TV, where he mentioned it coming in the patch after next, I think what he's breaking up there is this Lighthouse expansion being as the next major patch, and the Streets patch being the patch after that, so it coming with Streets. I think that's what he means. Something that makes that a bit more concrete for me is I think the work being done on AI around the trader and new bosses, as well as the new tech coming with Unity 2020, is going to put the game in a place that is ready for such a big map. Now, as we get up to Q4, I bet that will be the arena patch if we haven't seen it yet. Nikita sounded pretty confident that we'd see it earlier in the year on Tarkov TV, but we'll see. If not the arena patch, then it could be the map-to-map travel patch, where we'll see some, if not all, of our first connections of maps. If the timing works out that way, it might make sense to have another wipe around then, either during the holidays or a bit later. Very few details to go off of for this one, as BSG have only talked about plans up to about the mid-year mark, so I'm basing all of this off of what they've discussed lightly, as well as what I think makes sense if they want to have a working release candidate next year, as we've heard them say many times now. For those who don't know, no, that doesn't mean full release. It means something that, with proper testing, some balancing, and maybe bits and pieces of new content, will be ready for launch. And again, that's for next year, not Q4 this year. Sprinkled in amongst these these updates, I believe we're also going to get a bunch of new guns, including grenade launchers as underbarrel attachments and standalones, some actual launchers like the RPG-7 and 26, belt-fed machine guns, and various small arms like the AUG, new AKs, G36, and more. If we went into every detail there, then this video is going to be an hour long. So TLDR there for the concrete things. I think this next patch is going to be within the next month or so. It could be on the 28th, it could not be, and it's going to be the Lighthouse expansion. I also do not think this is going to be a wipe. Past that, I do believe the patch after that is going to be a wipe, and it'll drop around Q3 of this year, and I do believe it's going to be our first iteration of Streets, along with a bunch of other stuff with it, including the custom armor hitbox and rig feature, and then we get not so concrete when it comes to the end of the year, Q4 holiday season, where we could be looking at arena or the first iteration of map-to-map travel and stuff like that. Now, for everyone that does not want to partake in the loss of brain cells, you guys can stay here while I take my brothers and sisters back to the Tarkov conspiracy shadow realm of psychedelic mushrooms and crack, otherwise known as the stuff that has almost zero chance of happening, and yet not actually zero. First things first for my brothers and sisters out there, Nikita has noticed us. He tweeted this out the other day, totally confirming everything, I'm sure. And this is totally not just another troll, so we'll keep going. Sarcasm and jokes aside, I do actually think this might mean that there's a bit of significance to that picture, but that's really all we can get from this. Now, why is it possible Streets can be a surprise next patch, you ask? Well, because it had very good progress 10 months ago, while having since then been worked on by the vast majority of the art team. That's going to be over 20 sprints worth of progress, which is completely possible to have in a state that BSG can call ready for initial release, where it's just going to be one part with many more parts to come. If they were worried about the AI being funky, then that's good because we're getting new AI tech with this next patch. If they were worried about performance, then that's also good because we just got DLSS, and the newer Unity engine is coming, which has lots of goodies for helping with that, including lowering the overall data package for the build and new art tech to help with all of them shiny windows that we're going to be looking at. Then we have Nikita teasing this picture, which doesn't seem to belong on the Lighthouse location. Really, the only connection here is the painting of the sailboat on the wall, while the rest of the picture seems to really point to Streets, and then finally the number on the wall being possibly a date of 4/28, aka April 28th. If it's not a date, then it's a room number, in which case there are no 4-story buildings that are going to look like this on Lighthouse, unless it's for one of those various buildings up in the north, which is still a bit of a stretch, but still could be possible. Next, we're going to keep in mind that BSG have been having fun surprising us lately, and this would be the biggest of all, so we can't count that out. If you guys have been following the progress on Streets along with my videos over the past 2 years, then you'll know that the first iteration of Streets, although big, isn't actually that big. It's about the size of 4 interchanges shaped like an L, based off of what I've seen. Now, the entirety of what they have planned for Streets is absolutely massive, but this first iteration isn't actually that big. While that entire area was shown in the teasers that we've already had, and again, has over the last 10 months been worked on by dozens of people from the art team, making up the vast majority of the art team at BSG. Then last but not least, with the cherry on top here, the version number being shown on the Lighthouse expansion trailer is actually a later version than the one that we see on the Streets teases. So if they are sticking to that, then BSG have the Lighthouse expansion being in game after Streets. That same Lighthouse expansion patch that we are supposed to be having next. And with that, I give you the whole hallucinogen taking, crack smoking story of why this stuff on Twitter has been happening. Which, by the way, if you want to take part in this stuff on Twitter, make sure to follow me on Twitter. Now, as we jump back to reality, the counter to all of that is that BSG just want more time. They for sure have had some delays and problems pop up, as well as, you know, a war that started in the middle of all of this. It also just generally doesn't seem like the right choice compared to releasing Streets this summer in terms of hype and testing of the game. Almost everybody will want to play Streets and ignore the new Lighthouse stuff. Then, if all of that stuff showed up in one patch, it would make sense to think there should be a wipe with it, but it's still a bit too soon to have a wipe, and it leaves a big question mark for where the next one would be for sure. Then the last thing here being, there could be any number of reasons why BSG would have just decided to change the release version for Streets. It's also possible that they might end up hiding the map in this next patch. Then in terms of surprises, maybe one day we wake up with Streets completely ready to go in game. There's lots of things that could happen here. But you know what? Who cares about facts and logical decisions when we just believe hard enough that Streets is coming on April 28th? This is clearly the superior way of thinking about this, so I'm sticking with it. I might go live at some point to talk to all of you about this and answer some questions. I haven't really decided yet, but as always, I will keep an eye out for anything new and let you guys know more once I do. Until then, though, for the latest Tarkov news, check out these playlists here. If you like this video, then you know the drill. Please subscribe. I really appreciate the people who do. If you are looking for people to play with, check out our Discord. Links in the description if you're interested. Otherwise, I hope you have a nice day. See you guys.